What's up, you moneymakers and HCMC army? Welcome back to the channel. As promised, I am sharing this information on HCMC because there is a reason to be excited. We are back to 0.0002 and there is a reason why we are seeing some of the spike, especially in the volume. As I mentioned in my previous video that we will be seeing uptick in volume. Here we are on April 14th, which is Friday. The last session of the week, last week, we saw 1.79 billion volume for HCMC, which means 1.79, close to 1.8 billion shares were traded on the last trading session, and we ended with 0.0002. You know that we have been hovering between 1 and 2 level. I will be sharing what are the reasons as to why HCMC started seeing the uptick, and it's a great reason to be excited. HCMC, Healthier Choices Management Corporation, basically won the appeal and they are back into the business. As you already know, that HCMC sued Philip Morris for the patent infringement lawsuit. Now, there is a reason to be excited, but there is a reason to be not overexcited. And there are a couple of things that I'm going to mention. Remember, I am not a financial advisor, nor I'm a lawyer, nor I'm a certified professional, but I do a ton of research and analysis. So at the end of the day, these videos are only for the entertainment purposes, and you do your own due diligence if you really want accurate information for yourself. But what I would strongly suggest is to make this channel part of your due diligence. Hit the like button so we share this information with more and more people. The more likes we have, we spread more words out. As you know already, HCMC had more than 400,000 shareholders before a couple of years, and we have a strong fan following for HCMC. HCMC far beyond a very popular stock on my channel. I have a ton of subscribers and viewers who reach out to me on a regular basis asking for an update for HCMC, and I want to share this information because this is a great news. We have been waiting for some great news, and here we are. So HCMC won the appeal and they announced the success in its appeal of ruling in patent infringement action against Philip Morris. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'll walk you through this document, and it is not going to take too long, I promise you, because I'll be focusing only on the material that matters the most instead of going through this 47-page document. We'll hardly read a couple of paragraphs and we'll look into it. More importantly, I'll be sharing what the conclusion is, which is right here. So this is the conclusion. So I'll be sharing this conclusion with you of this appeal order. We will be talking about what is next for HCMC because this is just the beginning of the next phase for HCMC. And technically it can get longer, and technically there is no promises, but it is a pretty good thing, and we saw the buying volume, which is what the most interesting thing, which matters the most for the shareholders and investors as well. As I mentioned earlier in March, we saw the uptick in buying volume, the juicy green sign, or the juicy green bar rather, and we started seeing some sell volume or sold volume, which is okay as well. But lately, we started seeing a pretty green juicy bar, which is a buyer volume, buyer volume, buyer volume. And finally, yesterday, we saw a pretty big buyer volume. Take a look right here on my screen, 1.79 billion transactions or shares transacted. That's the volume. One thing that you want to notice on this patent application, the infringement lawsuit, is it is time consuming. So nothing is going to happen overnight, and it will take some time. By the way, if you haven't hit the like button, I strongly recommend you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, you click on the join as well and help out this channel with a couple of dollars, or you can click on the thanks and help out because I put a ton of energy, effort, and my time in building these videos. But what HCMC announced is the court appeal for Federal Circuit rule in favor of HCMC for two separate appeals that had filed in patent infringement action against Philip Morris USA and Philip Morris USA product assay pending in the District Court of Northern District of Georgia. Their CEO mentioned that we are gratified to have won our appeals and now have the opportunity to resume pursuing our infringement claims in the district court against Philip Morris for its IQOS device. Now, you don't want to forget that Philip Morris has invested more than $3 billion into this IQOS product. They have millions of daily users and they cannot really afford to lose that product because it's a revenue generating product. One thing that you also want to notice is what this appeal decision or appeal conclusion is all about. So remember, you can see this date filed on April 12, 2023, which is in the Appeal Court of Federal Circuit, Healthier Choices Management Corporation, which is the plaintiff appellant versus Philip Morris USA Inc. and Philip Morris Product SA defendant appellate. I want to really go to the conclusion part first so you can understand what this particularly conclusion means, and you can also find out what you really want to focus on. So here's the conclusion on this document. For the above reasons, and we'll talk about the reasons as well, but the conclusion is we reserve the district court's dismissal, and this is from the judge, we reserve the district court's dismissal of HCM's original complaint and its denial of HCM's motion for leave to amend its complaints. Accordingly, we vacate the award of attorney's fee. So there were two things. One is the judge dismissed the case or the lawsuit that HCMC has against Philip Morris. If you remember back in the days, there was discussion around the documentation that HCMC put it that Philip Morris came up with for their FDA explanation. And the judge took it as an evidence and they decided that this evidence cannot really be reverted. And they threw out HCMC's case out of the court, which was dismissed in the past. Now, here in this appeal, what they're saying is they're reversing that order, which means they're sending this case back to the district court. So we reverse the district court's dismissal order, which means there is no longer dismissal. We are back to where we were before a few months, which means the case will back on the floor. That does not necessarily mean that Philip Morris will not file another motion. Philip Morris still can file a motion to dismiss the case again, but they will have to come up with a different reason to do so. So there is still a chance for Philip Morris to file another motion and say, tell to the court to dismiss the case once again. We will see what happens. So that's number one. Number two, you want to also understand is they accordingly, we vacate the award of attorney's fees. There were hundreds of thousands of dollars that the district court awarded to HCMC. Basically, HCMC had to pay the fees for Philip Morris's lawyers for the entire lawsuit. Furthermore, we remand this case to the district court for further proceedings consistent with this opinion, reversed and remanded. So this is something is very good reason for HCMC investors, shareholders, retailers to very much to get excited about. But you want to understand a couple of things. Number one, to begin with the patent. Now let's take a look at the patent. HCMC comments that PTAB petition for inter partes review filed by Philip Morris. So in mid-2021, June 16, 2021, as you already know, that HCMC announced that Philip Morris SA filed a petition with the Patent Trial and Appeal Board, which is PTAB, we already know, of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office seeking the institute the inter partes review for proceeding to invalidate Healthier Choices Management Corp's U.S. patent. We say that 170. So Philip Morris came up and said this patent itself is not valid. What happened to that? Basically, HCMC further came up with the decision and the PTAB found all the claims in the patent are not patentable, which means HCMC at the moment does not have the patent that they are fighting for. So this is one thing. Now, while the appeal court, and my understanding is limited because I am not a lawyer, so do your own due diligence. But at the moment, PTAB is saying that HCMC's patent is not patentable. HCMC is suing Philip Morris for the patent which is not really in existence at the moment. While the appeal is going on, we will assume, or court may assume that there will be some legit patent that HCMC is fighting for. But at any given time, if the patent itself is not valid, what can happen is there is no meaning of this particular appeal as I understand. Write down in the comment section below if you have a different understanding. But in my understanding, what can happen is HCMC, while they're talking to PTAB, they may reinstate this patent back. So right now, there is no legit patent that HCMC has because the PTAB found that all claims in the patent are not patentable, and the company is evaluating, the HCMC was evaluating its option possibly of the exercising of right of appeal in the PTAB court as well. So the US court appealed for the Federal Circuit for the first requesting rehearing before the PTAB. So once the HCMC as a company, if it goes back to this appeal court and if PTAB appeal is approved, which means they say that yes, HCMC's patent is patentable, which means now HCMC has a valid patent that they are suing Philip Morris for, right? So there are a couple of things that you want to notice. Now, third thing that you really want to understand is this is decided on April 12, 2023. So very recent. Don't expect something to happen overnight, but yes, it's a good thing that we started seeing some uptick because it builds a lot more confidence. It is a good thing that we started seeing some of the juicy candle bar, which is the buying volume, because people now built more confidence in HCMC. Remember, there are a few things going on with HCMC in regards to their spinoff. Now, HCWC, we already talked about this, but just to touch upon if you did not watch my previous video, but HCMC is focusing a ton more in terms of the spinoff. And I'll cover that in a separate video. We touched upon this very briefly before a couple of days, but Healthier Choice Management announced the record date to be eligible for dividend of shares in the spin-off of natural food and grocery wellness business. What that means is basically they're coming up with HCWC, the new company. This new company stocks will be given in form of dividend to HCMC's existing shareholders. And there are some limitations, and we know that you need to have at least $10 because the stock will be having the base value of $10, and you want to be the owner of the stock, HCMC stock, on the record date, which is May the 1st. Now, what are the reasons and what is going on? HCMC mentioned that we agree with Philip Morris, and as the 11th Circuit Court has held, the fact that the district judge ruled against the appellant previously of little impact. Otherwise, every reverse case would have to be reassigned to remand, right? So they are giving all the reasons. HCMC is giving all the reasons that they can in terms of the factors in favor of reassignment. And they also want to make sure that not only the reassignment, but they don't need to actually pay for the lawyer fees that Philip Morris had paid to their lawyers. So there are a couple of things. So the things that you want to keep in mind is, number one, yes, HCMC has won this appeal, but the appeal is basically saying that the case will be back to the district judge, remanded to the district judge. Once again, we don't know who the judge is going to be, whether they'll be the same judge, whether they'll be a different judge. We are too early to say that. That's number one. Number two, to begin with, HCMC can still have some obstacle. Number one, Philip Morris can come up with another reason for this new case to be, not new case, but the case to be dismissed once again. And they can have another legit reason. So that's number two. Number three, that the patent itself is not legit at the moment, and we need to find out what happens with the patent appeal. It is extremely difficult to reinstate and win the appeal in the patent court as well, but we will see. HCMC seems to be making things happen all the time, even if they are slightly on the edge or the rare cases, because you already know that the appeal that they won right now, it's a rare case. Again, the PTAB petition that it went against HCMC, they can come back. But there's a reason to be excited, especially when we started seeing this juicy candle. And take a look, for a long period of time, we did not see such a big volume as you see on my screen. So green bar, big volume, green bar, big volume. And this happened once we started hearing a buzz around HCMC's lawsuit. And then we started dropping in terms of the volume, of course, because the market had turbulence, but we got back and we started seeing the similar size volume that we saw in early March, which in my opinion is a pretty good sign, because getting close to 2 billion in volume is not a small thing. Take a look, 1.8 billion. Before that, we were doing only 500 or 889 when the appeal decision came out. We will see some of the more momentum in HCMC stock as we get closer to May 1st. Write down in the comment section below if you think something otherwise or if you have more information, because the record date for HCWC is coming up and people are extremely excited. One thing that you also want to note is what HCMC is doing in their business strategy is they want to expand upon and monetize on their patent suite, which we can't really put the price on. But what we can put the price on is operate and potentially expand upon 14 health and vitamin stores, operate and expand upon 2 healthier choice wellness centers, and seek out new attractive business opportunities and lines with the mission of healthier choice management to add into their portfolio. As a result, HCMC divided themselves into 4 different subunits. Number 1 is the IP Holding Property LLC. The second one is Healthier Choices Management with 18,000 square feet, full service grocery store, and Paradise Health, Mother's Art Storehouse, so on and so forth, that they are planning to get under HCWC. The vitamin store, which is their online component, and the last one is Healthier Choices Wellness Centers, which is in my understanding, and write down in the comment section below if you have been to any of this and what's your experience. But in my understanding, this is the licensing deal where HCMC is not spending a ton of money, especially on their operating overhead. Because one thing is for sure, while HCMC is ramping up with the revenue, take a look, 284% year-over-year change in revenue, 12.31 million. That was the revenue in Q4 2022. Their operating expense was super high, 6.80%, which put them at the net income of negative cash flow 2.48 million. Now, if they flip the switch and figure something out and find out creative solutions for their complex issue that they have with the operating expense, what they should be able to do is to turn this negative cash income into the positive one. My hope is starting 2023 and beyond, they will be cash flow positive company, which is when they will start adding value for HCMC and HCWC shareholders. I hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Help out the channel by clicking the join or thanks button. I'll super appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.